So you think you have buy-in for your idea. You've been pitching your idea to leaders. Everybody has been nodding in agreement. You haven't been getting a lot of pushback. In fact, people seem to think that you're working on something really good, but somehow your idea is stalled, and you're not making any progress. You're not getting any budgets. You're not getting any support from key functions. Nothing is happening. Your project is stalled. So what is actually happening there? Well, research on the spiral of silence actually shows that people are far less likely to share their opinions, especially if they believe that they're in the minority. They're far more likely to hold back when they're in group settings and then speak the truth when they're actually away from the group setting and just chatting with their colleagues. So what that does is it creates this false sense of consensus where you think people are supporting or endorsing your idea, but actually they're not. They're just holding back and not wanting to give you feedback because they don't believe that will have any effect. And we call this kind of silence, and then the private conversations, we can call this the whisper network. So people will be saying things in private, on Slack, DMs, over coffee, in quiet corners within the building. They'll be saying things like, this will not work, right? This is too risky for the company. This is not something we should be investing in. Who's going to tell this person that their idea is not something we want to do? And so all this sort of whispering and sort of back chat is what can actually stall your idea. And so when innovation fails to take off, it's not explicit resistance sometimes. It's more the quiet apathy, the quiet lack of engagement, the private conversations, the whispers that makes everybody kind of relax a little bit and wait to see what's actually going to happen. And this can result in your project losing momentum. And this is something that I actually failed to realize early on in my career, which is that informal conversations matter. The things that happen behind closed doors, not in official strategy meetings, that's what really matters. People will meet before the meeting and make decisions, and then only come to the meeting to get endorsement for the decisions they've already made. And this was a rookie mistake that I made early on. I didn't even realize that meetings were happening. I used to over prepare for the formal meeting and then show up at the formal meeting to do my presentation. I even sent briefings to leaders before the meeting without realizing that people that were opposed to my idea were having meetings with leaders before our meeting. So when they showed up to my meeting or the meeting that we were having, decisions had already been made. I remember in one meeting, I was so frustrated because it was so obvious that the leaders hadn't read the briefing. I was so frustrated that I started sort of having a back and forth with leadership and asking them questions about what's in the briefing just to prove to them that they didn't read the briefing. But I'd already lost the argument. I lost the argument before the meeting. And now all I was doing was embarrassing the leaders in the meeting. So that was another bad move on my part. So you can guess what happened to my project after that. It was canned. It was stopped. And that was because I didn't understand this power of the informal meeting, the power of the whisper network. In order to pick up on this whisper network, you really have to be paying attention and pick up on it before things start to go wrong. One of the things that you really need to appreciate is that getting buy-in is not the same thing as getting endorsement. You have buy-in when people have a positive evaluation of the idea that you're working on, and they think it's a good thing, a legitimate thing for the organization to do. And you also have buy-in when people then start to actively contribute to the idea, participate, advocate for the idea in front of others, actively contribute resource and time to its success. You need both these things. You need positive evaluation and active contribution to say that you've got buy-in. And what innovators do is they're so keen to get started that they jump the gun. As soon as they get endorsement, they jump the gun. They're not really paying attention to whether or not this is endorsement without active contribution, which is not buy-in. Because if you don't get active contribution from leaders, people from key functions can notice the energy amongst leaders, and they may not support your idea, and then your idea can actually stall. And so be very suspicious when people overly praise your idea or give you positive feedback without then actively contributing. That's the moment you start to notice that there must be some barrier that's stopping people from helping my idea become successful. And when you pay attention to that, if you look behind the door, you'll probably see that there's a whisper network going on where your idea is being spoken about in a negative way behind those closed doors. So just pay attention to that kind of that kind of disparity between public endorsement or even positive evaluation in meetings with you without an active contribution after the meeting. So how do you handle this whisper network where people are talking about your idea? Well, you have to acknowledge that people are going to talk about your idea, whether you're there or not. People will talk about your idea behind your back. This is just going to happen. There's nothing you can do to stop that. A lot of decisions are actually made when you're not in the room. And so people are going to talk about your idea. They're going to talk about it to each other. The whisper network is going to happen. You can't stop that from happening. But maybe what you can do is do a bit of jiu-jitsu and flip this whisper network into your favor. Get the whisper network to talk positively about your idea rather than talk negatively about your idea. So the first thing you need to do is to get the influencers on your side. You need to find the influential people in the organization, other people in the organization care about their opinions. They go to them to find out what they think. You need to find these folks. They can be leaders, but they're not necessarily leaders all the time. They can be also just colleagues that are respected within the organization. We often call these diplomats, people that can connect innovation and the core business. These are people that people listen to, and kind of get those folks on your side and talking positively about your idea. Because once you get these folks on your side, you start turning the wheels of that whisper to be positive about your idea. And the second thing you should do is to get informal buy-in before any big meetings. Don't go into any big meetings blind. Make sure that you've aligned with leaders about what they think. Make sure you have one or two leaders that are going to be in the meeting that will speak on your behalf. Just make sure that you're not walking in blind and not knowing what's going to happen. Try and use connections and contacts within your business to build that informal network and really get informal support before you walk into a meeting. There will be people doing that who are opposed to your idea. So you need to also be doing similar things, not negative back chat politics, but just meeting with people, hearing out their concerns, and really trying to get them to sort of support your idea or endorse your idea before you walk into a big meeting. If you go into a meeting and you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know who's supporting and not supporting your idea, you're making a big mistake. And then finally, you can create safe spaces for pushback. Because sometimes people hold back because they don't know how you're going to receive the feedback. So you need to make sure that you create safe spaces for people to give you feedback, maybe even have one-on-one meetings for them to give you feedback, or ask questions that trigger people to give you feedback, such as, how would you do this differently? What are your concerns? What are things that I might bump up against within the organization? And then really show people how you're using that feedback to update and improve your idea. So in conclusion, what you want to do is don't confuse endorsement for buy-in. Really, really important. Don't make that mistake. You only have buy-in when you have positive evaluation and active contribution. And also understand that the conversation you're having right now may not be the real conversation. Try and surface the real conversations, the conversations that are happening behind closed doors, so you can turn those conversations towards your goals and initiative. Try and influence the room before you walk into the room. So get informal agreements before you walk into the official meeting. And I think that's really important. Try and get influencers on your side. Try and get the skeptics on your side so that when people start talking about your idea, they're talking about it in a positive way. And then finally, create some safe spaces so people can really give you the good and the bad and the ugly about your idea, so that you're not hearing about it through back channels, but you're hearing about it directly, which gives you a chance to improve your idea, make it better, and make it more acceptable and palatable within your organization. So good luck to you. What we're talking about here is not politics in terms of negative politics. What we're talking about here is the politics of human relationships and how you manage human relationships as you navigate your idea towards success. Always remember that breakthrough ideas are viewed as threatening, and the way you turn those ideas from being viewed as threatening is in the way you interact with others. So the fundamental goal for an innovator working inside an established company is to work well with others, figure out a way to build good relationships, because that's the best way to nurture your ideas and take them towards success. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please like and subscribe below, and also share this video with any other folks that you know that are trying to get buy-in for their breakthrough ideas.